And by the way, I want to be clear tonight, what we have on the agenda has to do with the mitigation agreement. We are not discussing the expansion tonight. We're not discussing the draft EIR. We're not discussing the project. The applicant has chosen to bring that before us when the final EIR is out. So I just want to be clear because I see a note here that it's not on the agenda. What is on the agenda tonight, and the item now is the Community Benefits Funding Agreement between Castaic and Chiquita Canyon. Jeff and I worked on this, and I would like to entertain, Jeff, a motion to approve the agreement as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Okay?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. It's now time for discussion.
I've got a few things. We're looking at this 8-page document, right? That we're asking. Okay. A couple of problems that I had. One, I understand what the memorandum of agreement is, but it's pretty close to being a contract. It has all the necessary things to be a contract. I'm afraid this might be. If it's going to be interpreted as a contract, we've got some things going on. Like we're still waiting for comments and information before we make a decision and vote. But according to this, if we do approve this, we now agree to support all permitting, all approvals before any agency, support the project with letters, appearances, testimony, phone calls, meetings with local, state, and federal permitting and consulting agencies. We're saying that we are on board with having the expansion go forward. And I think it's premature at this point in time. And you know, we've been asked that, but I think you have some information that you can give us. But
well, that's why we have the document states it is a memorandum of agreement. This is an agreement that we are making with the Castaic Area Town Council. So that should not be mistaken. That's very clear. And as reference to your point on item 19, the contract, it does say, again, pending the county's release of the final EIR. And we add that language into item number 19 specifically because there's been so many questions raised by the community of Alberti about the draft EIR that we felt would be best and most appropriate to wait for the final EIR for when all the questions are answered as part of that legal document that the county puts out. So we felt by adding that into the agreement that obviously provided a buffer for the town council to be able to feel comfortable and approve the agreement tonight and we release the final EIR.
And can I comment? What I see this doing is securing Castaic's funds for the mitigation fees. Because in 1997, Castaic wasn't consulted, and Alberti made an agreement with the landfill to secure those funds. If we, let's say over the course of discovery here, while we have the comment period to the EIR and all these allegations are investigated, if we agree to this agreement, and then 3 months from now or next year, whenever the final EIR is out, if we as a council vote not to support the project, that would just void the agreement, correct?
That's correct.
Right. So it doesn't mean that we can't vote not to approve the project later if the evidence so moves. What this does now is secure the money because we made an agreement with Alberti for 30% of the money, they would get 70% of the money, and what's going on the other side is up in the air. And so one of the reasons that I wanted this to happen tonight is I would like to secure those dollars for our community, assuming that the draft EIR is approved and the project goes forward and all the questions are answered. So that's my take.
And the warning I'm giving us, and I do see we have time until the final EIR is done, but people may have other things coming our way. And we're saying some things tonight orally, we've just heard them, but this agreement, if we approve it, says it's only what's written in here. And whatever was said orally, whatever we discussed, whatever we agreed to tonight. Yeah, don't worry, you don't have to approve it. We'll wait until everything's done. In a court, we lose. It's called parole evidence, and it doesn't matter how we think we're doing it tonight. So I'm concerned about that. I ask you to look at that.
I think the agreement's clear that if at some point when the final EIR is released, if there's something so egregious and awful in that the council's uncomfortable with supporting the project moving forward at that point, and the council votes to not approve the project, the agreement is null and void. It's done.
I understand the problem that we want to get the money part taken care of, but I still remain concerned that we're putting the cart in front of the horse. And a couple other things that are in here, again.
The agreement says it's the only agreement. I'm looking at, I don't know if you guys all have it, paragraph 17, but it basically says, if the County of Los Angeles, for any reason, and Supervisor Antonovich is retiring after this term, so someone else is coming in, and the county can do whatever they want, okay? As far as we're concerned. If they add any kind of fee, a community mitigation fee, a host mitigation fee, or any similar fee on the landfill, they don't have to pass. Our money goes away. So when Supervisor Antonovich is gone in a couple of years and something new goes on, and they, for some reason, add a tax, and we all see taxes coming everywhere in the state, as mentioned earlier tonight, they decide to add something, we still have the landfill for 21 more years, but we don't have the money for 21 years. We lose it when they go ahead and add something or do something, and I would not be surprised to see something like that happen. I don't think Supervisor Antonovich will allow it if he can prevent it, but he's not going to have a say in a couple of years. And we're looking at things 21 years down the road. So I can respond to, I caution the council again to pay attention to what we're doing here so quickly and easily, and what we may wind up with under this agreement. I'm uncomfortable with it.
Well, I'd like to address item 17, John, because basically what this says is generally the county would assess a community benefits mitigation fee on a landfill, and that money would go to some county department downtown that could perhaps never be seen again, or some small portion go out to the community. What this is basically saying is that because we have the blessing of the county to move forward with a community benefits agreement with the community, what this is saying is that if we establish an agreement with the community now, and the county comes back and says, no, we're still going to take the community mitigation fee out of from the landfill as part of their conditional use permit, the CUP, that gets approved by the board, the governing permit of the landfill, then this agreement's null and void. Basically, we're not going to pay twice. We're not going to pay a fee to the community and pay a fee to go downtown. Those fees are all established at the time of the approval of the conditional use permit. That's why 17 was written the way it was. The county can't just come back at some arbitrary time in the future and start assessing more fees like this, like a host mitigation fee or community mitigation fee on the landfill. That just doesn't happen. This has to do specifically with the CUP and the CUP approval, and that's at the point in time which fees are determined and assessed for the life of that permit. And Mike Dean's here from Chiquita Canyon Landfill, and he obviously could answer that in more detail and more questions. But that is, in essence, what this is about.
I just look at it from my attorney point of view, and you only have the problems when things go wrong. We're making this sound like it's going to work, and it's worked for a while, but again, I sure hate to see us get stuck. I don't even know why we need that there. I'm concerned that for whatever reason, the county may pass something they don't have now. And again, we're stuck with it, so I have a problem with that.
Well, again, I think the issue with item 17 is that we are not going to pay a fee directly to the community and a community fee to go downtown. That's double taxation in essence. So the idea was that instead of taking that community mitigation fee that would normally go downtown, the per ton amount, we are now securing it here in this community as part of the conditional use permit, and that's what 17 says very clearly.
Well, I've been paying very careful attention to this for a long time. I've said in the past that I don't want to, and in fact, I'm not really ready to make a decision tonight. I want to hear all the rest of the stuff that goes into this. But I'm concerned if we're jumping ahead, and if we get ourselves into a situation where things do change, and this agreement says it's only what's here, so I'm concerned. Also, the mitigation fee, we've had these discussions, we don't go through them tonight. Are there odors, are there health hazards, or are there this? But the mitigation fee is being given, in part, we're told you're nice neighbors, but you're giving it because there's a reason. You're not just going to throw away $1 million a year to us because you feel like doing it. So it's doing something. So if the county decides to take this money, okay, and we don't get it, we're still being affected. They're getting the mitigation fee, and if there are problems that we're still waiting to hear about, health problems and different things, we're stuck, and the county does what they want to do with it. So that's my concern on that issue. I had another issue with regard to item 20, because it says basically that if any town council member or officer, employer, family members, someone who lives in their house, gets involved in fighting this, we lose the money. So my mind's not made up, and I'm not vindictive, but let's say I just get so involved and I'm so mad that this goes on, darn it shouldn't have happened. All I need to do is go out and start signing up with groups and complaining about it, and because I'm on the council and I do it, you can take that money away. It's a nice loophole for you to get out. I don't think you're looking for loopholes, by the way. I'm not criticizing you with that. I'm looking at the legality of this agreement and what I'm reading, and it does leave loopholes that I prefer to see closed on our end, rather than out there in case things go wrong. Because we can't control pick any council member, so I'll use me as an example, is going to go out and do. And it could be a problem. I imagine you'd want to come talk to me, maybe other council members will say, oh, he's an idiot, please don't do it, it's not going to work anyway. But you could do it, and that's if you go to court on it, that's what's going to happen, and we're going to lose the money. So I have a problem with that also, at this stage at least.
As the agreement says, it is at the sole discretion of the Chiquita Canyon Landfill. We are not in the business of creating. We are not in the business of creating an agreement that we are attempting to create loopholes or get out of or anything else. We're trying to put down everything on paper so everyone has a very clear understanding. The point of the agreement and to agree to have the money coming into the community is that the community will then obviously help support the project going forward. And that's why we've added in 19 pending the release of the final EIR, because there have been so many concerns and questions coming out about Verdi about this. And so we felt that was a good buffer for the town council to feel comfortable with. But yes, at the end of the day, yes, we would like to hold people responsible for being supported. We understand where certain people stand on the issue, and we're not looking for reasons to get out of the agreement.
And I do understand that, but again, I'm looking at how it's in here and just think it's not, I think it's a little bit more one-sided. I have two other things. The money is going to be paid after January 1st, by February 15th or something for a year. So if this does not happen before the end of the year, and it goes over into January or February, we don't get any funds. But it did happen in February. We don't get any funds for 10 months of 2015. We don't collect until the following year goes by. It seems like it could be time to get and I don't think you're looking to do this at all. There's no accusation that, gee, maybe you can try to put things off till January 2nd to save yourself $1 million. I don't think that's your intent. I don't think it's how things are going to work, but it's what this contract says. Maybe it could be changed that instead of waiting for a whole year, you prorate the year. So if it's in for 6 months, there's $500,000 being given as mitigation fees. So we don't lose out for possibly as much as 10 or 11 months with getting the fees. And then these other things that I've raised. So I like what we've done to address that. And then the last thing I have that we've raised, and some agreed and disagreed, we've beaten this a few times, it's the amount per ton. As I've described it, you guys are here, you're offering mitigation fees, you're trying to be a good neighbor, you're trying to make this work, and you want landfills to continue. The county, if I understand this, if they take over and we don't get this, we'll get $1 a ton or thereabouts. You'd like our assistance. You'd like us to understand this, feel comfortable with this, and vote for it, saying that we'd like to see this happen. In return for doing that, okay, you're going to take 20 cents a ton away from us that you would pay to the county. I think we should get something more than what you pay the county. If we wind up supporting this as we're the community being affected, not less than what the county's going to take from you. It just doesn't seem right. I used the illustration, I don't know if you picked up on it the other night, John. I said, oh, so-and-so needs a ride to the airport, can you take them? And oh, if you do, you got to give them $20. Like, you're taking something away from the mitigation pot by giving it to us. And we're the ones that are affected. And I'm actually a bit offended by it myself, so I'm done.
How long has the current agreement been going with Alberta?
I believe 15 years, since 1997.
So that would be 17 years.
Yeah, 17 years.
Okay, and the payments have always been made there. And now, in that time, the county has since come up with this $1 a ton mitigation. They never added that on to your current agreement.
That's correct.
Right. And Rosalind, are you here? Do you believe that the county supervisors would continue to honor this agreement after Mike is gone?
Yes.
Okay. And then if you guys could speak to the prorated thing, that's the first time I've ever heard that, so.
Mike, do you want to address the prorated amount?
We're not trying to get out of anything to save money, as you mentioned.
And again, that's not my accusation, but I'm
Just a
reading.
starting point in time. We gotta pick the starting point. So we picked the beginning of the year because that's when the payments have historically been made to Albert. They're based on accounting. So, I don't care. If there's a way to make sense to prorate it, that's fine with me. But there has to be a starting point.
Other questions, discussion?
Is there any way, Rosalind, that we could get signatories to this, the signatures of the Board of Supervisors, saying that they understand this and that they have no intention of adding any other fees so that we lose potentially our mitigation fees? Would they back that up, or?
This agreement is between the community and the landfill. It's not, the county isn't a part of this agreement.
But they're gonna make the final decision, and although I'm comfortable with your opinion, or I have no problem with anything I'm hearing, I'm just raising questions, we really can't say what the county's gonna do, especially after Mike is gone, and we're signing on to this, saying that if they do something, they take the money and we're stuck. And I'm sure there's no conspiracy, I'm not raising that at all, I'm just saying I'm reading this document and I'm seeing things that can happen. And if I was being paid to do this as the attorney representing the town council, I could give them a very strong opinion letter with lots of changes telling them why this is not in their best interest at the moment. But we do need to start something and be prepared, but when this is all done, I think this is just too early to give away all the stuff that might happen.
Well, I think the conditional use, as you said before, the conditional use permit, the fees that are included in the conditional use permit the Board of Supervisors will approve is final at that point. Those are the fees the landfill will be assessed for the life of the CUP. That's the fact. That's what it is. The county is not going to come back and reopen the CUP, the permanent governing document, to add more things to it at a later date. That just doesn't happen.
So why do we need paragraph 17?
The agreement is contingent upon Los Angeles County, any successor entity, or any of its departments or subdivisions not levying, imposing, or assessing within the landfill operations to fund or help fund one or more community benefits or community projects. Fees on landfill operations may include a quote community mitigation fee or a quote post-mitigation fee or similar fee on the landfill, its revenues, or its operations, including without limitation by ordinance, resolution, or approved land use permit conditions of approval or otherwise, regardless of which subdivision of the county imposes such a fee obligation.
So we're putting ourselves out there, and they have all the authority to do it if they want, and we pay the price.
John, this basically says that if the county is going to assess a community mitigation fee, the agreement is null and void, because the landfill's not going to pay a community mitigation fee to the county and a community mitigation fee to the community. It's that simple.
A wise business choice. A wise choice for us that are gonna have the landfill for another 20 years, thinking that it's being mitigated by $1 million a year, may wind up without it if the county does any of these things. And again, we sit here, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure how they write these things, I should know better, but maybe it should be in here that, I don't know how you close it down early, if the county takes any additional money and we lose ours, then any approval that you might get, or letter of recommendation you might get, is null and void also, that we don't want it there, we have recourse to, because of this, to cancel the support, or request the early closing when we lose our money. What do we have to protect us, is what I'm looking at here. Other than your word, and I know you guys, and trust you guys, but things change. You may get a different position, then you know someone else is coming in for Supervisor Antonovich. It's just, we're putting ourselves out there in a way that is silly, from what I'm reading here.
All I can say is the fees are assessed in the conditional use permit, which is approved by the county, and what we're saying in this clause is that you can't have community mitigation fee going downtown and one going to the community. It's just not going to happen.
And we are doing these negotiations with the blessings of the county. That's what makes this unusual. This hasn't been done before. The ability, except in Val Verde. And so we're copying the Val Verde model and keeping the funds here in the community.
Other areas of LA County don't have this opportunity. That's why I want to secure these funds.
Well, John, I have some of the same concerns that you have, but this particular item that you're talking about is, I have absolutely no concern about that, because as you said, this is a planning action, this is a conditional use permit. This is the same as approving a development, as approving a liquor store. They can't come back after we go through this approval process in 2 years, change supervisors, and then say, well, we're going to revoke his housing permit. We're going to revoke the, all the permits that they issue. It's the same process, it's the same ordinance. So once it's approved, doesn't matter who the supervisor is.
And it's your opinion that a new board of supervisors
Doesn't
can't
matter.
assess a different tax?
They
and
can't,
take our money
they
away?
can't withdraw any of them either. They can't withdraw an approval of a subdivision or an approval of any of their planning act, any of the condition, until the condition expires.
But can they add a tax? That's the issue.
They can add a tax to all of us.
That's what,
Yeah,
that's why this is so important.
That's absolutely, they come down and say, you know what, we're gonna tax everybody in Castaic.
Yeah.
That's kind of outside the scope of this.
But it's relevant to this actually because it will take away our funds if they do that.
He's saying they can tax individuals, not.
They can pass a tax for living in Castaic. They can pass a tax for doing business. So that's kind of outside the scope of this. I mean, they
Well, I'm
can,
not sure. I want a legal opinion, but John or Mike, do you have an opinion on that? If there was a tax assessed on all of Castaic, would that, under the terms of what you think your attorneys put here, allow you, if you wanted to stop making the payments to us?
This whole thing is geared to the CUP conditions. That's what this was all about. I guess we could come up with all kinds of scenarios of things, but that's not what this is about. It's about the CUP condition, and that's where they assess the community mitigation. That's what this is about. And as John said, we're not in the business of wanting to do an agreement and then the county comes in and changes their mind and says, now we're going to charge $1 on the landfill. So this is about, if we're paying one mitigation fee, this is an opportunity for you guys to get the funds free and clear, to do what you want with them, to get them on a time schedule. You decide how to spend the money. Totally up to you. The other way you get the money from the county, you're going to have to make requests, you're going to have to justify everything. It's going to be a process that goes on the entire life of the landfill to get the money. And you're not going to get $1. When was the last time you gave the government $1 or $1 tax? It's not going to happen.
okay, we have law enforcement waiting. Other comments?
I somehow think we're getting stuck in our rut here. I wonder, Michael, while you're up there, John, can you give us a bigger picture on mitigation fees? When you look across the country, other landfills, in your experience, are they getting mitigation fees? Isn't this something very unique and unusual and an opportunity that, we could just throw away or?
From my experience, it's pretty unique to LA County. When Chiquita got approved in '97, no landfills had community mitigation fees, those fees, whatever you want to call them. Since that time, they did Pointy Hills, they did Sunshine Canyon, they did Palmdale Landfill. All those landfills have community mitigation fee. And all those landfills have the money going to 1 or 2 county departments. And then somehow that money gets back to the community. I can't tell you how it does that, I don't know. But because there was a precedent here with Valverde and that unique agreement with them, the supervisors of the county let us extend that to Castaic and, continue it with Valverde. So the money goes directly to the community, not to the county. So it's a very unique opportunity.
And I fully understand why we're not supposed to use this to fight you or do things detrimental to you. It's silly to fund us to cause you problems. So that part I understand. And that's in there. And that I'm agreeing with, just so you know, I'm not totally against this whole agreement. But the things that I've raised, again, are just too one-sided leave us with zero protection, in my opinion.
And that part is in there because it's in the original agreement with Valverde, is that correct, the same language?
Same language about using the money to oppose the landfill, yes.
They're not 17.
Well, these are things I'd like to bring up. On number 4, it says CCL funds generated by multiplying 80 cents a ton by disposed solid waste in the calendar year. Disposed solid waste, how would you define that?
You can read our conditional use permit as defined in the conditional use permit. Disposed tons going to a landfill, they're the basis of the tons that we pay all of our other fees on. $1.50 to the county, $1.40 to the state, 31 cents to these. It's all based on disposed tons, as is the Valverde agreement. So this one is disposed.
Okay, and there's no other money you guys get for bringing the trash other than disposed solid waste, correct?
No, there are other materials that come in the landfill that are put to beneficial reuse and diverted from disposal, once again defined in the permit. And those materials can be charged for, they can be accepted free, they may be of little value, they're diverted from disposal. The fees aren't applied to those materials, that's the statewide definition of that material.
Okay, but you guys get paid for any of that material that comes in, that's my question.
Pardon?
You get paid for any of that material?
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Wouldn't it be fair if this is supposed to be a partnership with you guys, that if you guys get paid, then Castaic should get paid also?
I think what he's saying is the formula for all the fees goes on this, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so,
That's standard.
Any times that we pay these other fees to the state and county and everything on as the basis for this, as it is the basis for the Valverde.
so, but for example, if you bring something into cover, that may not fall under the disposal.
So I could bring in material for free or 50 cents a ton because we need it for cover, we're going to do it for erosion control, and, we don't want to pay $1.50 to the county and another $1.40 to the state. That's not the basis of any of these fees.
It's not trash.
So it's consistent.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, that was the first one. The second one is, when we sat down to discuss this with you, we talked about the CPI getting added to the annual amount, and that's pretty fair because in 20 to 38 years, $1 is not going to be worth what $1 is today. I think that should be added into this. That was agreed to when we sat down.
No, that was not actually moved to.
It wasn't, John.
No, actually, it was not, Greg. And I know there's other people in this room that were in that room, and I'm sure they'd be happy to speak up as well.
Wow, I guess we're just...
Is that the cost per living index?
Yes, the agreement as it was laid out was there was going to be a 70-30 split between Castaic and Valverde, and it was going to be based on per tons that come into the landfill at 80 cents per ton per year. Period. That was the agreement. And I think there's somewhere it's scribbled down in emails and other things. If I thought we were going to be having to go back to this discussion, I would have brought all that information with me. But I know Flo was in the room, Jeff was in the room, but Vanessa was in the room. I'm not sure who else was here, was in the room, but I'm sure they can speak up about what was actually discussed. So there's just a question about that.
Okay, so
So in the existing agreement with Valverde, there's a 2% per year increase, but that's because it's a fixed amount. It doesn't vary with the tons.
Got it.
Valverde got a fixed amount to start with, and every year that payment went up 2%. This fluctuates with the ton.
So
It's already, substantially more money under this agreement than the Valverde agreement with the fixed.
So what the town council should consider is, in 38 years, because this landfill could last 38 years, think 38 years ago and how much $1 was worth 38 years ago. So what we're doing is we're selling out for this 80 cents a ton that's fixed. So in 38 years, what's it going to be worth? 20 cents a ton?
Would you support this if there was a CPI included?
I'd feel a lot better with it, because that's what we sat down and we agreed to, so that was part of it.
You would support it?
Well, that was
That
not.
part, yes, and then there's a couple other parts, but yes, I would.
John, you did bring that up.
It's okay, you can keep telling stuff, but I'm not mad, so it's okay. Number 5, it says, as using this agreement, Castaic area shall be generally defined as encompassing region 1 of the CATC, generally north of Highway 126, and fully encompassing regions 3, 4, and 5 of the Castaic Area Town Council, and specifically excluding region 2 Valverde. So what you're saying in this is the Valverde residents cannot benefit not a tiny bit from any of the money that comes in, correct?
The money cannot be used within Valverde because Valverde has their own agreement in this. Again, going back to the 70-30 split, Valverde agreed to take 70% of the 80 cents per ton. Castaic agreed to 30 cents per ton. So the 70 cents per ton are going to Valverde for Valverde to decide how to use via the CDFC, and the 30 cents per ton comes to Castaic to decide how to use in Castaic. Now, if the funds in Castaic, perchance, were to be going to the schools or to the parks, and Valverde residents, children, or whomever participate in programs at those schools or at those parks, they would certainly benefit in that way. Yes, but the funds are to be managed and used by Castaic because that's how the agreement was discussed, and then the funds for Valverde would be used and decided how Valverde wants to use them in Valverde.
And absolutely, anyone from Valverde would be welcome to participate in any of the programs by our CDFC, unlike the fact that we can't participate in yours, but that's okay. These programs will be...
This is a contract 12, so I just want to go to the next part of it.
Okay.
Please. So number 6, the parties agree that the funds are only to be used for community benefits that benefit that Castaic Area as defined above in paragraph 5.
Correct.
Correct. So it's not saying that Valverde kids can use the money or they can benefit from it. It's supposed to be only used for that purpose. And what I'm going to get to you guys on is that ties into something that really we got to be careful of. Okay, so it says.
Okay, we have folks waiting.
Okay, well, here, let's go skip forward to the next one. Number 10, we're supposed to be governed by the Brown Act. Should this be in this agreement?
It was a recommendation by members of this board to add that in there because the members of the town council felt that this organization should be open, transparent, and all the information made available to the public. And we agreed with that. We feel it's the best use of community funds for the light to shine in on audits and let people participate in that process and to know how the money is spent, where the money is being spent, and understand the full administration of the funds.
Okay, so the town council's okay with the Brown Act?
And not only okay, I specifically asked them to approve it.
Okay, so that's fine. Just want to go over things. And that's number 11D. None of the 9 seats, this is talking about the board, can be filled by a Valverde resident or an owner of property in Valverde. So what that's saying is, somebody who lives in Castaic can invest in a rental house in Valverde, they cannot sit on this board. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so town council's okay with it?
Well, again, the idea here is that Valverde has 70% of the money for them to administer and do with what they want. And so the administration of the 30% of the funds would be done by the greater community of Castaic. Again, with the idea that anyone can participate in the programs wherever they live.
But what it's also saying is, if anybody who sits on this board invests in a rental property or they buy land in Valverde, they can. They have to leave the board. But it's
What are the chances of that happening?
That is correct. And that would be
What do you mean by
I would be
that?
more than happy.
How many people own 2 homes? Oh, great. Great, you're doing better than me. Maybe you should volunteer and I should work some more.
Greg, I would be thrilled with one agreement for Valverde and Castaic, for all the money in one pot, have a revolve, all 9 people elected. You don't have this. I don't understand why you're so concerned about it.
No, this is protecting the CATC board, you guys.
No, I
Because there's
understand.
something further, so let me just go a little further and I'll tell you where it comes down to. So number 12, it says that the CATC, CCCBF agree that at least 80% of the annual contribution from the CCL must be spent in the Castaic area community each year. So it says that 80% of the funds must be spent every year, so we can't bank money. Our Castaic Area Town Council can only bank 20%. Also said the CCCBF shall not invest more than 20% of its annual contribution into an investment account. So we can't put more than 20% of our annual amount into an investment account. We can't bank money, only 20%. No more than 12% of the funds can be used annually for the administrative management, rent, salaries, CPA, bookkeeper, etc. of the organization. So guys, this is, managing us very tightly. And here's where it comes down to being a problem, is number 18, if the terms and conditions of agreement are violated by the CAT or CCC-CBF at any time, CCL may at its sole discretion, after providing written notice of violation to CATC or CCC-CBF, as appropriate, with an opportunity to cure the violation within a reasonable period of time, as determined by CCL, cease making the annual payments to the CCC-CBF. So it's basically, if we make a mistake and they tell us, you guys made a mistake, and some guy doesn't want to leave the board, money's gone. Or we make a mistake on,
You gotta fix it.
well, how do you fix something if
If someone's
it says-
embezzling money, you gotta, they tell you to fix it, you gotta fix it.
Of course, if embezzling money,
That's what it says.
but no, it's saying if you own property,
I mean, that's a different story.
No, it isn't, because
We've already
this is part of
passed
the
that.
agreement. No, this is all part of the agreement. It says if you violate any of these terms, and that number 11D is one of the terms on property in Valverde. Somebody sits on the board, they don't want to leave, are you going to kick them off the board? Just because they bought rental property in Valverde. So basically you're saying don't invest in Valverde if you want to sit on this board.
No, we're saying that people who control the funds for Castaic should be Castaic residents.
This is saying
the whole point.
owner of property. It doesn't say resident. It says resident, but it says owner of property. That says you can't invest. Because
And all of that would be disclosed in a Form 700 in item 9.
Correct. So if it was flipped on our Valverde side, I would not sign anything that said I can't invest in Castaic. That's my right to do it. You don't take that right away from people.
Go ahead, Mike.
The whole point of this thing was that the Castaic community got money, it's your money to do what you wanted with in Castaic. Valverde had an opportunity to get money, they could invest the money the way they want. We don't, because Castaic is defined as including Valverde, it's separated out for terms of this agreement. They have 2.5 more times money than the Castaic community did. So it should be completely up to you guys to do what you want with the funds in the Castaic community. That's all. Okay, and it says, it's the same language as in the existing Valverde agreement right now, about not making payments and if you violate terms of the condition. It's a basic agreement, right? We have an agreement, you violate something, there has to be a consequence. This isn't a big deal. It's discretionary too. The whole point is to protect the funds for Castaic that they go to Castaic and don't get channeled into Valverde when they have their own funds to deal with Valverde. That's all. We don't have a Valverde agreement yet this far along. But there's a parallel provision that they're not going to want to have Castaic people decide how Valverde works. That's all this is about.
But it is a contract, right? It's just like John said, it's a contract. And everything's nice, John. 2 years ago, you come to a meeting, everything was great. Something bad happened, I don't know. But if I signed an agreement and it went bad, our community can get screwed in this. And this is the same as Castaic. Castaic can get screwed in this too, because this is a contract. It says that you can remedy things. How do you remedy? Last year you didn't spend 80% of your money. You can't remedy, you can't go backward in time. That's what it says.
It says right there, you gotta get rid of it. You don't wanna sit on it. It goes to the community.
Have there
We
been
don't wanna
problems,
do-
have there been problems in Valverde with money going missing?
No.
Never.
I'm not
Never.
to suggest that.
What are we, Flo, that's not what we're talking about.
Are we talking about this?
I think the point of this agreement in having the open meeting rules, the Form 700, all of that, the auditing, the bookkeeping, is to ensure that the organization functions above the law and is in compliance. And it's not a reflection on anything other than the fact that we want to make sure the provisions of this agreement make sure that it sets out that the money is spent appropriately. And I think anyone setting up a nonprofit organization would want to ensure that funds are spent properly going forward. And that was the intention of all that language in the agreement.
But it limits us because we can only save 20% of the money for Castaic. So let's say we wanted to build a new baseball field, and it's $500,000. We can't do it. We can't save up the money to do it. That's what you guys are doing.
I don't think so. I think you'd be able to put it into a fund and call it a baseball fund and consider it spent.
I'm not only throwing 20% away though per year.
No, but I'm saying, I think you could put money into a fund drawing up the legal language saying this is for Little League fields, and you're spending it by putting in that fund for Little League fields only. I don't think that's, we're getting way off course.
Way off.
But these are things that our CBFC has to look at too. That's what I'm trying to warn you guys of.
We got it.
This is a contract, and John's right. This is
I
a
understand that. And have they ever given you a hard time about your existing contract?
I've only been there for a couple of years, I don't know.
Kevin said yes.
Frank, Jimmy, you can tell us that we haven't got.
No, we'll hear public comment. You can come up and comment. I'm asking Greg as the representative.
I've only been there for 2 years, so I don't know.
Okay.
It's a very short
To your knowledge, has there ever been a threat to stop the funds to Valverde?
No.
No, okay.
And
Okay, we need to
You're
keep
gonna
going.
set up your own 501c3 or something, whether it's, you can create bylaws. There's a lot of these things you can include in your bylaws. This is a framework.
This is a framework. So for example, if we set up bylaws for the 501c3, we could say that if you own a house in Castaic and you own a house in Valverde, you're eligible. We could make that decision.
I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
But float it, it goes against this.
I
The
understand.
whole point of this thing was to get the funds out.
To the community and to get the best people to serve.
Not bank them for years and years and years where the community doesn't benefit. That was the simple goal.
I agree.
And
Other
if-
comments?
And let me finish, please. And if this money was going to the county, you would tell them you have to spend 80% of the money every year.
I wouldn't tell the county anything. I'd pay them and you'd have to figure out with the county how to get the money back.
So why do you think?
And they would approve what you spend money on. That's just the reality. You would have to make a request and they would decide whether that request was, if they wanted to give you the money.
Yeah, but
You don't have that.
You can't tell, you're giving either the county the money or you're giving us the money, correct? Us being Castaic Area Town Council, you're gonna give one of us the money. When it goes to the county, you don't tell them you have to spend 80% of the money.
This is not an agreement.
I think, Greg, they don't want us to get into the investment business, which I completely agree with that comment. We're not in the investment business, the money's gonna be spent in Castaic. All you have to do is set up an escrow account, you put the money in, it's earmarked for that project. I don't see that being an issue. We clearly have an incredible opportunity here that we can't get lost in the weeds. All we have to do is give the money give the dollar to the county, and you're not gonna see any of it. They may come and fill a pothole once a year. So this is a fantastic opportunity that I think that we're just getting lost. There are, I would imagine, hundreds of people in Valverde that are taking advantage of that money that's coming in. They're not here today. I'd like to see where are those people. So, we haven't heard them coming.
Yeah.
I do think
we're doing it. Here's the thing though, if someone presents you a request for proposal, right, this is kind of like a request for proposal, you're gonna buy a house. So you take the first offer when you buy a house? Because if you do, I'll say my house, I'll make a crazy offer, you can buy my house. You don't do that, there's things in here that need to be fixed. And that's, I think, what John was saying, correct the things, you look it over, it looks good, sign it. I'm not saying stop it, I'm just saying correct the problems, because there could be big problems down the line. That's all I'm saying.
We appreciate that. Any other discussion? We have some people that want to speak. I know we have some school district people here. Are they still here? No? Okay, let's start with Bonnie. Bonnie, you want to?
Hi, I'm Bonnie Nicolai. I've been living in Valverde for 7 years. When we moved in, we were told that the landfill would be closing in 2019. According to the agreement that was made in 1997, it's
Bonnie, I hate to cut you off, but the discussion is about the agreement with Castaic right now, not about the landfill.
Now, I'm going to get into that. We made this agreement. They have breached the agreement twice. What makes you think that they are going to hold up any agreement with you if they don't hold it up with us?
I appreciate that. So there's 2 times where they have not provided the funds on time.
No, it's not the funds. It's the
Okay.
fact that they were supposed to close in 2019 and also that they weren't supposed to take sludge.
Okay, so again, those are issues for the draft EIR. You're welcome to submit your comments to the county. That's where that information goes. We're not talking about the project tonight. We are talking about this agreement with Castaic in the same way that you will talk about your agreement
But it
with
does.
Valverde.
It lends itself to their credibility.
Okay, so I appreciate the comment.
Because you're all, I know that you guys are worried, and some of you are worried, that they will renege on some of their agreements and then possibly use loopholes. Obviously, they've done that before, so why wouldn't they do it again?
And again, the county addressed this issue in a letter. As soon as it came up, they stopped. We're not discussing this, we are discussing the mitigation agreement. Are there any clauses that you wish to discuss?
I've not even seen the paperwork. None of us in Val Verde have been sent this agreement.
When was the Val Verde version of the agreement provided to the leaders in Val Verde?
The most recent draft was last Thursday, however, that originally
Did you send it out to every
it was
resident?
about 4
No, it
months.
was given to the leaders in Val Verde, and we've been in discussions for a year.
We can't because the landfill put on that agreement, this is a confidential agreement, basically said don't share it with them. And John, if you want, I'll bring it out to the whole community. If you give me the okay, I'll show everybody. in the
Yeah, we'd
community
like to
documents,
see it.
If you want to.
And again, you and Val Verde residents have the opportunity to negotiate your agreement with Chiquita.
I don't even think we should be negotiating at all at
Again,
this point.
then tell your leaders that. That's a
We
Val
have
Verde
told
issue.
our leaders that. We told our leaders that last Wednesday, or Thursday. The fact is that there's
You have
proof.
20 seconds to wrap
There's
up.
proof. It says increases in risk of adverse health effects, low birth weight, birth defects,
We are
certain
not
types of
here to
cancer.
talk about the project tonight.
We should be talking about it.
Then we'll get it on the agenda for next month. Tonight, we are talking about the agreement.
With all due respect, Mr. President, I don't want to take any of your time. We are kind of talking about the agreement because we're saying that we can't oppose it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're saying that it's the right
Point of order.
We
Is
can
her 3
oppose
minutes
it.
up? Is her 3
Yeah, her
minutes
3
up?
minutes is up. I'm going to call the next
You
person.
talked during most of it.
I said
don't
my
think
piece.
I did.
I'm good.
And Flo, I'd like to just say something real quick. You asked me to share this with Stephanie, our agreement, and I told you I can't. Because it is written on our agreement, we're not allowed to share it with others. It's supposed to just stay with our community. So I'm asking John permission, if he's gonna allow us to do that, I'll share it with our community if it's okay with you. Will you give us permission to do so?
This is about Castaic. We'll
Yeah, this
deal
is about
with
this.
this
You
issue
guys,
later.
that's what you said, because I don't
That was a no.
We are here to vote on the Castaic.
But you asked me to do something with Stephanie,
There's a
and that
motion,
says I can't do that.
there's a motion and a second on this deal now. What are you talking about? You talking about something different?
And
Is there a motion and a second?
So this is part of the
you
agreement.
can share it with Stephanie, she's on the committee.
I
Okay,
can't, no, she's not on our committee.
Marshall left
No,
off.
she's not on our committee.
She's on our committee, me, Jeff, and
I can't share with
Stephanie.
you guys either. But say I can.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to share this any way you like, but let me give it to the person in charge. Many or most or all residents in Val Verde received this on their mailbox last Thursday, which is the day of the Civic Association meeting in Val Verde. Look that over, and you would think that it was put out by the Civic Association, wouldn't you? Look at the bottom.
Marshall, again, this is a Val Verde issue.
I understand.
Yeah, it's his 3 minutes, but we have an agenda.
You're using my time, sir.
I'll start the time now, but I want you to talk about the agreement. That's what's on
I
the
will
table.
talk about the agreement. Okay, want to talk about the agreement? You have a contract that John looked over, and he had questions and problems about certain parts of it. And you ask the people that presented it to you, well, can we get clarification? Can we do this? Can we do that? A contract is only as good as the paper it's written on. And you can ask John, and he'll agree with me. Okay. So if you have any issues or things, you're not going to talk to them verbally. You have to get it in writing. Any change, any modification, clarification, whatever you want. Okay. The next thing is, I presented the flyer so you can see it, to see how Chiquita Landfill demonstrates her desperation, especially with Val Verde, but I think with you guys too. In one hand, they have a writer of the West, I forget the neighborhood is called. I forget what's the last name, Boussard, whatever. Anyway, he's claiming publicly Val Verde gets hush money from the landfill and all that. Well, you people are doing the same boat because you're so worried about the money, and control they have or will exercise over you with the contract that John has a problem with. And John Muselli at our meeting admitted he was behind that.
Yes, I did.
Thank you. So
We
I'm
put it out.
showing you this misleading flyer. This is the kind of thing if you're wanting to enter an agreement into, knowing that maybe everything isn't quite the way you want it to be, or what you think will be. So, you know, I want to present it to you. You can do as you wish, obviously, but, you know, Castaic is part of the Castaic area. And it's a little complicated above my head on how all this stuff goes, but I'm just giving you forewarning. Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
What, I just have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
What is misleading about that flyer?
Who put it out?
Who put it out?
No name on it.
The landfill is responsible for that flyer.
They made it look like the CDC put it out.
That's not from the city association.
No.
No.
Ask
Yeah, we put it
John,
out.
he'll tell you.
Get me it now. Do it?
Is there anything written on there that's
We're trying to
Look at it.
deceive
It's very
people.
misleading. Where is Chiquita Canyon Landfill is mentioned at all. It's just it's very misleading, and considering the people, it's also in Spanish on the back. Got to give them credit for that. But you know, not everybody. It's the same thing. City of Santa Clarita. I wanted to get that back.
I just wanted to answer.
You can have that back, and that's 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Steve Luke. And again, please confine your discussion to the agreement.
Okay, well, I have two agreements. I have yours and I have our CUP for Val Verde. Section 8 for us, and we live by this, and we live by it religiously. Val Verde Civic Association agrees no funds received at any time as a result of approval of the CUP 89-8081 shall be used in any manner against the good name or activities of the New Hall Land and Farming Company and the subsidiaries, the landfill operator and the landowner, in any way. We sat here on the land use committee and you guys said, oh, why didn't you use the money for the people who were feeling sick? We couldn't in any way, because later on it would be a lawsuit. You have the same agreement in 7. So when Live Oak comes here and Live Oak says, I'm sick, and Live Oak is in the draft EIR, it says their cancer rate will go up to 20.3, and then all the way up above the 5 in 2020.
I'm sorry,
This is the draft EIR. You will not be able to tell the people we did not know. You know, Flo. When you sign this, you have to shut up. When people come and say, I smell it, you have to get them to shut up.
No, I
That's
don't.
what you're signing. You will not, when you sign this, you're signing, we will be for the landfill, no matter what. Live Oak, we don't care if you have cancer. Get out, just like you treat Val Verde. It'll be the same exact way. The landfill and Live Oak, not Val Verde, Live Oak. They mentioned Live Oak. There was a study done that says the cancer rate will go up to 100 in a million, 100 above. What is it out? Because they don't mention the diesel thing. That's your Live Oak! You're going to sign your old people away. You're their representative. You should be put on notice that you need to tell the people what you're signing for.
Can you lower your voice?
Can you quit cutting me off? Can you quit cutting me off in my 3 minutes? Because I won't put up with it. I won't be put down by this board anymore. I will not be treated like a second-class citizen because I live in Val Verde where we don't have sewers. It gets old after a while. When you leave Ralph's, I think I smell sewer, not septic tank. In 1996, the landfill said they could not add into Section 6.
30 seconds.
Because Section 6 was unstable, but that's where they're going to put it now. Is it stable all of a sudden? Thank you, Flo.
Steve, just to be abundantly clear, I can speak out against the landfill. It means I would void the agreement, but no one's tying my tongue. I can say whatever I wish, and that means if I believe it's not a good idea, I can speak out.
So let's make clear on walk away
But
from
if
the
you do it after we sign this, we lose the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
John.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes. Abigail.
Good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. Volunteers is a lot of hard work. I wanted to address Stephanie Evia, if I may, because I understand unless there is someone else on this board who's actually a real estate broker. Both of you, ladies, may I address you both then? I would like to know that upon accepting this agreement, upon accepting mitigation funds, from here on out, all the properties that are within all of those areas, will they need to be disclosed that they are receiving mitigation funds or affected by the landfill to be having mitigation? So in your disclosures, from here forth, your properties will have to disclose landfill issues. Yes? No? Is that a gray area or what?
Jeff?
Just in the last 30 years. We've been disclosing it for 30 years. There's forms you have to do, and it's done. There's airports, freeway noise, earthquake faults, all that's done. Normal, standard deal, and has been for years. And will continue.
So the agreement does not change the disclosures? Okay.
And do you agree with that, Mrs. Evia? You agree that the way the disclosures are written today will not change whatsoever with this signing this for mitigation funds?
I do, to a certain extent. I myself do disclose. I do not like to, I think it's better to disclose than not to say anything. And I always put the Chiquita Landfill is within the vicinity.
Okay.
What I want to do, we disclose it, every realtor that does a deal, there's a disclosure form that fills all this stuff out.
I know, I almost.
You're asking, is there an extra little thing on this deal?
Am I being time?
Yeah, he's a realtor. You asked the realtor.
I asked the ladies.
They didn't know.
Okay, well, one of them did. So basically, John, I guess, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, I don't want to mangle it. It's something to consider if health isn't going to be an issue, that you may be signing property values away if you are a reputable agent that decides being disclosure up front and not getting sued afterward might be important to your people.
I think it very well could, and obviously running to the end of the agreement, which is going to be whatever 21 additional years, it's going to be in there. Instead of saying you're near a closed landfill, you're a fully operational landfill for the next 21 years, it's probably going to be, my guess is it's going to be there.
Okay, thank you.
My question is it there now, Jeff? Is it there now? So, again, just to be clear, it's there now, it will continue to be there. We allow 20 minutes per topic, we're almost there. How many speakers do you have? Lloyd Gardner.
Earthquake fault, toilet paper, salt.
I have two more names, that's going to be it.
All right, a couple of things. Receiving municipal funds, how does that affect the town council's 501c status? It's been my experience that that was discussed in '97 when I was in the land use committee, and the county actually said that you guys wouldn't be able to accept it.
I'm going to stop your time and answer that question. We will not be receiving the funds. We are setting up a separate 501c3, a community benefit funds committee modeled after the one in Val Verde. That is a separate entity that will handle the funds. Time is ending now.
All right. The council agreement for, okay, so the council will have no control over the monies whatsoever. So you're actually agreeing to a document that you'll have no control over.
They present the budget to the town council, and the town council approves it once a year.
And also 4 of the members will be town council members from each of the regions that are not members.
One of the things that the landfill uses is shredder waste for daily cover, and that is a disposable waste. The companies that do rid of this actually have to pay for it to get rid of it somehow. So, you're going to have to make sure whenever you do a contract, it should be an airtight contract. There is a contract for the people of Alberta and the community of Castaic that the landfill would not continue beyond the '97 agreement. But there are little outs in it, okay? You guys really need to get to a lawyer, have this gone through, and make sure it's ironclad. And it should have penalties in it if they try to pull back, okay?
We did go through it. Go on.
You hired a lawyer.
We had a lawyer, yes, we have a lawyer that's going to help set up the 501c3.
I don't think
No,
it's
this contract has not been seen by a lawyer. I already know that. And, you have to have a lawyer look at this contract because the slightest little out somewhere in a back page somewhere allows them to do what they're doing right now. Coming back after they promised the community that it would be closed in 2019. Okay?
So again, I'm going to stop your time. If the community of Val Verde believes that that document is binding, the community of Val Verde should hire a lawyer, have the lawyer petition for attorney's fees, and take that to court. Because I hear that all the time, but nobody's taken on the case. That's my opinion.
Okay. The other thing is that the county does a hands-off program. This is what happened to the original Val Verde agreement. This is a total hands-off thing. So the county will not represent you. If you guys enter into an agreement for another committee, I'm not sure how, you guys would be also liable for that committee's actions, okay? Okay, so you're gonna have to set up something that would aggregate, you guys from that also. So, my advice to you is to take this document tonight and put it on hold and go get a lawyer and go over it very carefully.
Some of these changes were recommended by the attorney that looked at this.
I'll always use them.
Okay. Okay, it sounds like a pretty loophole document to me, and I don't think any attorney worth his salt would approve this.
What do we have with that?
No, Keith Pritzker, by the way, that 3 minutes is up. He looked at it with the understanding that we will hire him to set up the 501c3.
And did he give us a recommendation that this is something good the town council should sign? You can have any problem with any of the clauses. But you don't have anything in writing that would put the whole thing in responsible for it.
No.
Didn't have practice a little bit, but didn't advise us right, didn't know it here.
We asked for his input pro bono. So, what do you mean penalties?
They take it slow or something like that.
Use your mic, please.
Yeah, use your mic.
I'd like to know why we can't have penalties included in this contract. It looks like it's all one-sided unless it's going to be added in somewhere else. And take sludge, or as I've just heard, that possibly radioactive. All of us will be affected. It's not just me or Val Verde or others. Is this the proper document to put it into?
We could put in any line there, they have to agree to it, we should certainly ask. I haven't had anything come to me a day before to do with such little time. I just think it's way premature, and there's too many things that need to be done.
Totally agree.
And I didn't think about adding things, I
It's
just
all
looked at the
one-sided.
problems here. There's things that the council might want to add.
The radioactive waste, the arsenic, the cancer, let the experts deal with all of that in the EIR. The idea is to submit that. You have scientists, you have biologists, chemists, geologists, soils people, air quality people, all will look at that draft EIR. All of your comments will be fed into that, and they have to, by law, answer all of those comments.
But they haven't taken samples from Val Verde.
What's
They're
that?
not taking samples.
Yeah,
They take air samples from Val Verde.
I am not in control of the EIR process.
Then why are you signing this document? Why are you even thinking about signing
Because,
this?
again, if we find out that there's a smoking gun and we don't go forward, all we do is vote not to approve the expansion and we void the document. We're not
You
getting...
should vote no today. And then
No. I'm not taking comments from the floor. Thomas, it's just not run that way. Thomas Lee.
I don't know if we actually change our mind and change our votes because somebody thinks something different. I don't think it's that simple for us to say okay tonight, then not like what we hear, and then say no. I think the county already has the stuff from us, a letter from us. I think we should have all the answers before we sign.
I appreciate that, and I think we should secure the funds, and if we want to change our minds later, we can, but the funds are secured if we don't. Go ahead, Tom.
After that flyer was passed out through Val Verde, Christine said, where are the people who received those funds? You would have thought that a lot of the people in Val Verde thought, like, oh my God, they're going to take our money. But they would have run down to the house, basically said, oh my God, please let people down for going. Not one person showed up, not one. So there's that. There's a lot I want to say, but I can't because have to stay with this for now. I won't be here next month, but I'll be here in spirit. I want to read you some of your own bylaws. I'm no lawyer, but what I'd like to the Castaic Area Town Council bylaws. So you are to provide for the common good of the Castaic area. We strive to accurately mirror in its policies and actions positions and concerns of the residents of the Castaic area. Right? A lot of the people in the Hasley Hills and that old pit right next to it used to be Hasley Mine. A lot of people there don't even know about any of this. I don't think they were informed very well. And there's one thing, so for whatever reason, if you don't have the backbone to actually provide for the common good of the community and accurately mirror the positions and concerns of residents of the Castaic area, then I ask those of you who have more than just tenuous ties with the dump to at least preserve a remnant of your professional and personal integrity and remove yourself from the vote. Article 4, Section 1 of the CATC bylaws, ground for removal, the director may be removed for subsection G here, failure to remove himself from a vote where a director knowingly has conflict of interest regarding the parties or issue involved. I'm no lawyer. The whole conflict of interest thing is a tricky one. There's the conflict of interest, political ethics as the town council. For example, the CATC fundraiser. Lions Club 5K run. I actually don't know about any of this. I just ask you. Stay on your toes, I guess. If there's anything like that going on with you, read your bylaws and look into that. Thank you.
Thank you. The last speaker is Jeremiah Ducker.
Hi, thanks for having me, everybody. I'm going to just repeat a couple of little things. I do think that the signing of this agreement is going to affect your future decisions and the decisions of people that you are in contact with. If you are signing away the ability of, say, your wife or your boyfriend or even your children to do certain things in the community, I think you seriously need to reconsider how this is worded. I know that there have been companies in the past, fracking companies, that have sued over children saying bad things about their fracking company when their family was not allowed to do so. I suggest that you really clamp down on how this is worded, because it is not something that you just want to take someone's word on. That's not how an agreement should work. I don't think that you should have any sort of gag order put on your families or your friends or anything else in regards to their own free speech on the subject. And I also think that you would do well to look over some of the other concerns that have been done tonight. But I think that going forward, leadership can change, as you had said. Leadership can change in this council. Leadership can change in the supervisors. And there are a lot of people in a lot of instances, and I think you could do a very simple search on the internet and find many, many agreements that have been broken by a new leadership change. And I think that is probably the most simple thing that you could figure out about this. You have to figure out a way to represent this community, of which Valverde is a part, and you are represented here tonight. So I'm glad that you were able to hear from the residents of Valverde, and I do also agree about letting Castaic, Live Oak, and all of the other neighborhoods know about what is going on as quickly as possible, because time is ticking and things are getting jammed through very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Well, can I ask one more thing? John, as an attorney, if we sign this agreement and later we change our mind and we say, no, we're not going to do it, or we break some of these agreements, does this suit just go away?
No, this is the agreement. You breached it. If you change your mind and do something different, you breached it. If you lose the funds, you can be sued, yes.
Well, you can be sued for what?
For breaching the contract.
what it says is
They
the
can be
fund
sued
stuff.
for breaching the contract if they don't know.
Sue too. Do you think they're gonna
Gentlemen,
wanna
you
go?
want to address that?
I'm not a lawyer, but why would we sue you? We would just stop giving them money.
Quiet. Now, you guys, let's be quiet here. There would be no cause for action. We don't have anything.
He can't answer that, he's not an attorney for them.
Right, we don't have anything for which to sue us.
You'd be surprised.
Okay. Other comments?
You're insured.
Yeah, we have D&O insurance. But, yeah, that's the, I mean, talk about fantastic ideas, that's the last thing I would ever see.
I promise the meeting.
We had,
Yeah,
public comment. I'm not hearing people yell out at my meeting, I'm sorry.
The couple of comments I have is yeah, this, all we have to do is vote against it, and the funds stop for any reason. And I think it's pretty clear in here, if you start, if that's what we want to do. This issue about the $1 or $2 or whatever, I mean, I think they're going to give the money to the county. And so this is an incredible benefit for this community to get this forward. I mean, there is so much that can be done. Now, if there are some issues with the EIR, you have the water board, you have the county, you have public works, you have state fish and game, you have 3 other agencies that I can't even remember with a bunch of initials on it. They're the ones that are overseeing this. We don't run it, we don't manage it, we don't inspect it, we don't do water quality tests, we're not professionals. Those agencies that govern the landfill, those are the professionals. So they're the ones approving this. And I find it hard, how do you ask us to support Val Verde in this when your own community accepts the money? Your own community, you have a community group, they accept the money, you've been spending the money, there's people that are benefits to this funds. And if the people of Val Verde are opposed to this, then reject the agreement, reject the landfill, send the money back. That will get you on TV. You send $1 million you have in your account back to the community, back to Val Verde, so you know what, we have a problem here. Well, you're going to get noticed. And the last comment I have
It is Mr. Paradise's turn to speak, thank you.
The last comment I have is, I just can't stand to hear a lie being told over and over again. Landfill was never going to close. Okay? If you read the documents, we saw the documents, we were here, we saw it. So they never said the landfill was closing. Neighbors may have said it, a realtor may have said it to sell your house. It was never the case.
It's in the CUP right now, by the way. It states it.
And you know, and the other thing about, do we have to trust them? Why not trust them? You know what? If there was a new company coming into Castaic, I don't know who that company is. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what they did before now. This company has been here for many years. They have supported the community long before this new permit, this new expansion. So it's not like we're talking to somebody that's new in town and we don't trust them and whatnot. They haven't reneged on any of their agreements with Val Verde. I don't expect them to renege on any of our agreements. I think this, excuse me, I'm talking. I think this is a tremendous benefit for the community of Castaic, and I look forward to supporting this agreement. Landfill issues, the EIR issues, that's a separate, and we'll get into that as it goes through the process. Thank you.
See, Val Verde community, we don't want these benefits. And we
Sir,
don't know-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Public comment is closed. I appreciate it, but you had the opportunity.
I never know who's these people getting the money,
Sir.
or whatever this money go away or
You
spent.
need to talk to the Community
Otherwise,
Benefits Fund Committee.
We are the majority, 99%, and the Val Verde
Sir, please.
stop this game. stop this gate and don't go around every once in a while.
Public comment is closed. I don't want to be rude, sir, but you had your opportunity. I understand.
You had the plan for 30 years, and now the time is
Sir,
said,
please.
that's it. Stop the game.
Do you understand what I'm saying, that we had a public comment period and that it's closed? Everybody had an opportunity to submit. Everybody that submitted got to speak.
Do not force the people or the simple community to do whatever your benefits and
Sir,
whatever your
again,
achieve.
I have to, we're not forcing anything. We're not, you have an opportunity to bring your concerns to your community.
We voted last week, we said no.
Right.
And you had to...
Loud and clear, heard loud and clear.
Admit this.
Sir, I don't want to be rude. I have to ask you to stop.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, I'd like to answer something that Dean did say about the...
You know what, Greg? I'm gonna call for a vote. I think we've gone long enough.
Dean
Let's
did
vote on
say
this.
something that was incorrect, so I'd like to clear it up.
Okay, last comment.
That was back in 1997. I talked to the lady that signed it, that signed the agreement, Ruth Griffin. She said when she sat down at the table with the landfill, and Mike Dean was not there, so Mike Dean does not know what happened. When she signed that agreement, the landfill promised this is going to be the last expansion. They promised it.
It's
But
time
what
for a
happens-
vote.
what
And
happens-
again,
the flow, no, Flo, this is part of this whole thing. Mike Dean is not going to be around for 21 to 38 years managing the landfill. It's going to be somebody new. John, you may think he is, but I don't think he is. And I would, 38 years, Mike, you're going
The
to be...
comments are noted, Greg.
Hold on. So what I'm asking the board to do is, this is a contract, it's a legally binding document that maybe what we need to do is just change a couple things in here. I don't see anything wrong with that. Just change a couple things so we're protected. That's all I'm saying. That's what I want everybody to think about. Mike Dean is not going to be there for 21 to 38 years when our predecessor, our future board members are going to be having problems.
Greg, you're basing something on, that happened in 97 on hearsay. The point is not hearsay because the funds still going to Valverde.
Are you
Yes.
still lying to us?
So I'm not listening.
Well, it's not hearsay because I talked to the actual person that sat at the table. It wasn't somebody who talked to. I sat and I talked with her, Ruth Griffin. She told me they sat at the table, they hashed this whole thing out.
And again, I have said that if you feel that that agreement was breached, hire an attorney. Hire an attorney and shut it down.
And that's okay. I agree with you. We hire an attorney, we can do that. But what I'm saying is, you do not want.
And we appreciate your feedback. It's time for a vote. You have a vote. Okay?
Well, I remember the hardcore predetermination, the issue came up, they didn't vote because things were being predetermined. We still have comment being sent out there waiting to hear, and we're predetermining that we can't oppose this any further with regard to this contract tonight, which
I want to assure you that if I feel it should be opposed, there's nothing in this agreement that will stop me from opposing.
Except for money.
It's not about the money. So it's no, okay.
All right. So why do we have it in there? If you oppose it, then everything's
John,
done, the money we don't get, we don't get.
You have a vote. We've talked about it long enough. It's on the agenda. I'm going to call for a vote, and then we're going to move forward. The comment period for the draft EIR is still open. Let's get everything on the table, submit everything to the county. Thank you. Okay. So the motion is to accept the agreement as presented. John Kunak.
Knowing that I have not made up my mind and still haven't, despite what I said here today, I want to hear more of this. This is great.
Can't you say yes or no?
No, I can't. You say yes or no, but you don't get the question. No, I want to let them know the reason I'm doing this. I don't want to walk out to everything I supported if I don't. I
No
need
works
to find
good.
out more.
No works real well.
I need to find out more about what goes on here, okay? And I think I can preface my vote with it. If you don't like it, you can yell or walk out or take longer. I don't care. I don't want to debate you. I think that we need to see the rest of the information. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm not accusing anyone of anything at all. I'm just saying that this can be revised in a way that's more beneficial to us. We can avoid potential problems, and there's a lot of them here, and it hasn't been reviewed by an attorney, because we have no one to sue for having given us this information in our
coverage may not cover us under the way we're handling this
Put that motion
situation
forward.
tonight. So I'm going to vote no.
I'm going to vote no, and
Thank
this
you.
agreement, in the manner it's written right now, it needs corrections. And plus, we have had an attorney look at it, this is a legally binding document.
Dean Paradise.
No. Yes.
Jeff Breach.
Yes.
Kelly Quick.
Yes.
Marty Chrysler.
Yes.
Stephanie Evian.
I'm going to vote no because I feel that we are not doing our public duty. For money, that's overriding what we feel, I feel we should be more responsible for.
I appreciate that. Sandia Ennis.
No.
Joe Lawrence, yes. Dawn Faulkner.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, motion passes.
Does this mean they all have to buy a free one now? They cannot talk about it?
Again,
We're done. You got no count.
they are welcome to do whatever they want.
And get God. God help you. I hope you like it.
So, and I so apologize to the law enforcement officers. Public Safety, John Kunak.
By the way, I did put in a speaker request.
And Susie, you put in to talk about the draft EIR, which was not on the agenda. You even said, where is this on the agenda? That's why you were not called.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's go to LA County Sheriff.
LA County Sheriff?
LA County Sheriff's making his way up, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sorry to keep you waiting.